Okay, today we're going to start Tzadik Tes Amud Beis from Amar Shmuel. It's 99b, and it's let's see, about 17 lines from the top. I don't know exactly. The traditional Gemara, it's still in the skinny lines. Okay, we thank Hashem that we're able to learn Torah every day. And in this chus of our learning, we should have the base of Mikdash immediately. We're learning in memory of Zahav Golda Bas Baruch Binyamin, and anyone that needs refuah shlema for my father. Yomar Shmuel. Shmuel says, Tabach uman shekilkel chayav l'shalim. If you have a butcher, here it doesn't really mean a butcher, it means a sheichet. Sheichet that's an expert, that he messed up in the shechita. So good morning. He has to pay for the damage that he caused. He made the animal treif. So, and it says he's an expert, so for sure if he's not an expert, he has to pay. Right, the expert is he has to think has some leniencies, but if he's even if he's an expert, he still has to pay. And Shmuel goes on to say, Shmuel is the first generation Amira. He goes on to say, Mazaku pesheyahu, he's damager, he's negligent. It's as if he told him clearly, shecht for me over here and he shechted over there. That means that he's absolutely negligent. The Gemara asks, why does he have to say he's a mazik, he's a damager, he's a peshe, he's negligent? What is he? Why? What's the double expression? Why is he getting berated like this? It says, if it would just say that he's a damager, I would have thought, I would have understood that it's a little complex over here. You see, I would have understood that if he's being paid for this, then he has a higher obligation to be careful. So he would have been considered like a shemer sachar. Shemer sachar is the paid watchman that's obligated if it gets stolen. So I could have thought that when does he have to pay for the damages that he caused because he didn't shecht properly and the animal became treif? That's only if he was getting paid. Let's say he was doing it for free. Then he wouldn't have to pay for the damages. He was doing him a favor. He shechted it for free. Kamash Malan, it comes to teach us pesheyahu, that he's considered negligent. And the rule by a watchman that's not paid is that he's obligated even for negligence. Shemer chinim is chayav on pshia. So the term mazik would have been used if he was a shemer sachar, and the term pesheya is the term that's used by a shemer chinim. And the chiddush, what Shmuel's telling us, is even when he's not paid, he still is obligated for the damages. If he's paid, he for sure has to do a good job. Even if he's not paid, he's also chayav for the damages. The complication here is that mazik, the term mazik, would mean that he's chayav even for einsin, which means that he's a shayal, not a shemer chinim, not a shemer sachar. There's a confusion over here in this, but whatever the case is, that's the pshat. Pshat is I would have thought that he's only chayiv if he's paid. Kamash malan, that he's chayiv even when he's not paid. That's what Shmuel's teaching me. Eisvei Rab Kamma bar Guria l'Shmuel. Rab Kamma bar Guria, he asked Shmuel a question. He's going to get into trouble for this. It says that if someone gives an animal to a butcher, a sheichet, and he makes it into a nevela, doesn't shecht it properly. So uman pater hedit chayiv. If he's an expert, then he's exempt, and he's exempt because we consider it an accident. You see, the expert, he doesn't have to do more training. The expert's the expert. So if an accident happens, it's an accident. You can't blame him. If it would be a hedyot, it would be a regular person, and we would say, so why do you do it? You should have practiced more. You should have asked for help. You should have, we put the blame on him if he's not an expert. So the hedyot is chayev. But if he's getting paid, then bein hedyot bein uman is chayev. And he's chayev even if he's an expert. Now that's not exactly what Shmuel said. Shmuel said that an expert is chayev even if he doesn't get paid. Shmuel is much stricter than this brisa that Reb Kamma Bar Guya is quoting. So Reb Kamma Bar Guya is asking a question to Shmuel. You say that an expert's gonna always be chayev, but it turns out from the brisa that an expert is only chayev if he's being paid. And you said that he's called pesheya to tell me that he's going to be chayev even when he's not paid. If he's not paid, according to Shmuel, he's chayev. According to the brisa, he's pater. So Amalei, so Shmuel tells him, la'aker meichach. Now, that could be that he cursed him. That could be that he's like just totally shocked. He says, has your mind become dark? I like it better if it's said in like a rhetorical, the Rosh used to yell at us if in yeshiva, if we asked a question that didn't make sense. They'd say, what, did you drink your Negelwasser today? Muddled. Okay, I'm translating a little different. That it's like a rhetorical. Like, what has your brain become muddled? Not mayor, not as a curse, but has it? Okay, I think it's a little nicer. Also, who merabanan kamaisavla. Turns out that there was another student that came and asked the same question. Amalei, hashta shaklis my deshakal chavra. Now you'll take what your friend took. It means like the same. You have the same problem that Reb Kamma Bar Guya. You didn't understand what you're asking. Kamina l'chuana Rab Meir. Kamrisali Rabbanan. You're asking me from a different opinion. Yeah. How come Reb Kamma Bar Guya gets it and not the other one? I don't know if it means he censored his name. I think Shmuel censored the questioner because his question indicated a total lack of respect for Shmuel. You have no brain in your head. Yeah, otherwise, I don't know what it means. I don't know what they're saying. I have the name of Reb Kamma Bar Guya. He asked Shmuel the question. Yeah, I'm not sure what they mean. Maybe it just means censor the question, means he didn't like the question.
Like someone that has like a pottery head and then it's broken and it says, oh, the brain of a communist. Of course, it's empty. No brain.
I didn't say a bracha, right? Okay. So Shmuel goes on to explain. He says, my opinion was the opinion of Reb Meir, and you're asking me from the opinion of the Rabbanan. Well, how come you weren't careful to analyze? Why didn't you analyze my words? Because I said, he's a damager, he's negligent. As if he told him, shacht me for here, and he shachted from there. Manis lehai svara. Who's the one that holds this? That a person needs to be extra careful whenever he does something. So it's Reb Meir. That Reb Meir holds that a person needs to be more careful. So you should have realized from my words that I was specifically referring to the opinion of Reb Meir. And now you can't ask me any questions from the Rabbanon. It says, hi Reb Meir, which Reb Meir is Shmuel referring to? It doesn't mean which Reb Meir, which person Reb Meir Balanes, or some other person Reb Meir. What it means is, which statement of Reb Meir is Shmuel referring to that he says this? Maybe it's this statement of Reb Meir that Reb Meir says. We're going to have three possibilities. The Tanan was taught in the Mishnah. Let's say there was an ox. Like the owner tied it up with the rope and then he locked the gate on it, and it nevertheless went out and caused damage. So the rule is, according to Reb Meir, bein tam bein mud chayev. Whether it was a tam, whether it was a mud, that's not considered a good enough guarding. Just tying it and closing the door. You have to close it up in such a way that even a hurricane wind can't break the door. So Rabbi Yehuda argues on that. Rabbi Yehuda says that no, if he's going to be exempt. So Gemara says, "Asam b'kroi pligi." You can't tell me that Reb Meir holds that you have to be extra careful. You see, in every case, Reb Meir holds you have to be extra careful because of that brisa that we just quoted, because that has to do with psukim. That's a special case about a tam, a muad. Those are special things about animals. That doesn't mean in every case it needs to be like that. That's a gzeres hakasav. That means it's in the wording of the text, and you can't learn from that to every other place. Elohar Reb Meir. There must be the following case of Reb Meir. The Tanan, it was taught in a Mishnah. If a dyer, someone that dyes the wool, was told by the owner to dye it red, but instead he dyed it black. Black, shachar, tzavi adam, he dyed it red. Reb Meir says, nicely the maid Samri has to pay him for his wool. Right? In other words, the dyer keeps the wool, and he has to pay him for brand new wool. So he has to be careful. Gemara says, "Asim biyadayim kalamine." Over there, with his hands, he caused the damage. In other words, he knew exactly what he was doing when he dyed it black. He didn't know. It wasn't a mistake. It says, "Oh, I can't believe it. It turned out black." Like that by the shechita, he says, "I was doing my best. The animal moved and it messed up, and I couldn't do it." So, that was a mistake. Over here, it was on purpose. Over here, he's responsible. How do you know Reb Meir holds that if the animal moves or something while in the middle of the shechita and it messes up the shechita, that the sheikhet has to pay for the animal?
But in the case of the dyer, I think that he maybe forgot the cut that he was supposed to do it.
Exactly. That's why he's chayev. So you have to pay attention. But the fact that he did it directly meant that he should have asked. He should have asked the second time. He should have made sure. He should have clarified. Over here, this was just at the moment the animal moved and his hand slipped or something. Elohar Reb Meir must be the following Reb Meir. The Tanana was taught in the Mishnah. Nishbra kade v'li silka. Someone had a jug that broke, and he didn't pick up the pieces. Nafla gemale, or his camel collapsed. And he didn't pick up the carcass. Reb Meir chayev beniskan. Reb Meir says that he has to pay for any damages that the pottery shards or the animal caused. Someone trips over it, and the sages say that he's exempt from payment in this court, but he has to pay for in heaven. In other words, he's responsible from Shemayim for the damages. So Reb Meir is the one that says that you have to be really careful. Now, what's going on over here? And we established back over there in this Gemara, which was in the third chapter. It says Biniskal Peshehu Pligi, that they're arguing about Niskal, which means how did the jug break? Because the person tripped, and that's how it broke. So the fact that it broke because he tripped, what did he trip on? Tripped on his own feet. The Reb Meir says that you're negligent. How did it get on the floor? Through your own negligence. That means that you're responsible to be more careful to make sure that you don't trip. And if you do, then anything that happens because of that is your responsibility. So you see, it's Reb Meir that holds that the shochet has to be extra careful, even things that are that you could say are maybe not preventable. Like, what do you want from me? I tripped. So unpreventable circumstances. Right. But Reb Meir holds that that's considered not an einus, but that's considered a pshia.
Negligence?
It's considered negligence.
Shoma Sachar is a paid watch.
Yeah.
So if something extraordinary happens, earthquake, fires, or something,
he's exempt. He's exempt.
Potter, right?
Yeah.
But
he's only chayiv for the type of damages that is comparable to the item getting lost or the item getting stolen. That's like a certain level of negligence. How to get stolen? Well, maybe you could have closed the upper window better. You blocked the chimney, or I don't know how people steal back then.
Like in a fire.
Right. Could be exempt. Right. Shayel is higher for things that are out of his control. Borrower.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
He basically has to replace it. Always has to replace it. Right. Unless it was the fault of the owner, because if it dies while it's working, it's like when you rent a car. If someone rents a car and the car dies, that's the fault of the company. That's not the fault of the borrower. That's a renter. But let's say it was a borrowed, then someone borrows someone's car, and then it dies while he's driving it. That would be the fault of the lender, not the fault of the. Yeah. Okay. So basically, we found the Reb Meir, and Reb Meir is the one that's more responsible, and apparently Shmuel Pascal's like Reb Meir. That Niskal Spesheya, and he's also going to paskin that he does paskin that the sheikhet has to pay for the damages. Let's take a look at the next Gemara. Amar Rabba Bar Bachana, Amar Rav Yechanan. Rabba Bar Bachana says the name of Rav Yechanan, Tabach Uman Shekilkel. If you have an expert sheikhet that messed up, chayiv, he's obligated to pay for his mistake. Afilu Uman Ketab Chitzibari. Even if he's such an expert that he's the best expert in the world, like the experts of Tzipari. Those were the expert butchers. Miyam Rabbi Yechanan, Hachi, Rabbi Yechanan really say this. Rabba Bar Bachana has another statement where Uvda Kamid Rabbi Yechanan Beknishta the mind. There was a story, a case that came before Rabbi Yechanan in the shul in Ma'in. I think it's the shul. It's some sort of gathering place of Ma'in. Synagogue? Okay. He said, he told the butcher, he said, go bring me your proof that you have smicha, that you're an expert for what's it called when you have like the smicha to do certification for no, there's a Hebrew word for it. It's called Kabbalah. You have Kabbalah to do. Prove to me that you have Kabbalah to be a sheikhet. Prove to me you have Kabbalah to be a sefer. They have to get some sort of certification. And then if you have that, then you'll be pater. Gemara says like kasha, kam b'chinim kam b'schar. We have a contradiction here, right? Rabbi Bar Bachana says that even the biggest expert has to pay. Then he says, but there was a story in Ma'ayin where he said, if you're an expert, you don't have to pay. Just prove to me you're an expert. It's contradiction. So Gemara answers, it depends. If he was paid for his work, then he has to be extra careful, and even if he's a big expert, he has to pay. If he wasn't paid, then if he's an expert, he doesn't have to pay for the damages. And Gihad Amar Reb Zera, this is exactly what Reb Zera says. If someone wants to make sure, take insurance out on his cow that he brings to the butcher, that if it doesn't work out, the butcher's gonna have to pay him for the cow. What should he do? Yaktim le'dinar, he should pay him first. Pay him first. Then if the butcher messes up, then he owes him. If he doesn't pay him, butcher messes up, then he's expert, he's exempt.
It doesn't really matter if he's an expert or not. It's still
liable. No. What we're claiming is that we're claiming is that the person that's not an expert is liable because you should have practiced more. You should have asked for help. You should have watched another YouTube video to get the how-to shecht better. You should have practiced. You didn't know what you're doing. Don't practice on my animal. But the guy that's the expert. So what did you want him to do? He's doing his very best. If something happens, it's an accident. It's not negligent. He went to Harvard Sheikhet school.
So he could be like
What happens by a doctor if a doctor makes a mistake?
But he's not
Sometimes they have insurance, sometimes they don't.
That's today with insurance. But let's see. If he's an expert, if he's certified, officially, according to this, if he's certified, so then what do you want from him? You want him to stop working? He's doing what he's supposed to do, and made a mistake. He made a mistake. Finished. But if he never got a certification and he just started practicing, then he would be liable. That still exists today. That concept. You weren't really certified. You didn't do this, so you didn't finish something. And
in the emergency room, and the doctor brought over the student. Oh, do you allow them to lick my toe with fracture and dislocated? Go ahead. So practice.
And they did a good job. I think they have a supervisor.
The doctor was there with him.
Yeah. What do they call the people that are trained in the hospital? They call them residents or something? Interns.
Does this connect with yesterday about specialist, the craftsman, if he got paid before or after?
It's paid before or after.
I think you mentioned that the chauffeur got paid before,
right?
He's liable.
Yeah. If he was paid after, then he's not going to take it. What are you going to make me responsible just because you're paying me a penny? No, I wouldn't do that. Oh, I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to connect it to when the worker, when the obligation to pay the workers and how it's accruing. What we learned yesterday, does it accrue over time or is it right at the end?
And then you also discussed.
No, here we're just talking about that you pay up front by kaparas. They have like a bucket over there where you put the money in, pay the sheikhet. From this Gemara, you should pay the sheikhet because otherwise, if he strafes up your chicken, you're gonna have to buy a new one. They'll say, "No, I'm exempt. It's your fault." So if you pay him first, then if he messes up, then and it's his fault. Okay. Usually it says pay when you leave. Usually in the line, you can put $1 or something or $5 into the sheikhet. Okay.
Meesvee.
Where are we holding? Meesvee. Okay. Meesvee. Someone brings his wheat to be ground, but the person that's grinding it didn't soak the wheat. And when they would soak the wheat, they would remove some of the bran that was on the wheat. And maybe it's the peel of the wheat or something. And because of that, because he didn't do that, the flour came out, subin, which is a very coarse flour, or mursan, which is another type of flour, also a coarse flour. Subin is worse than morsan. So, or kemach lanachtem, or he brought his flour to the baker to make it into bread. Basu pasni pulin, and he made this bread that's crumble bread. There's a crumble cake, right? He's made crumble bread. This falls apart. Remember that Yiddish curse? There was a Yiddish curse that was something like, you should have hard butter on soft bread. So, okay. The Hemel Tabach Benivla, or he brought his animal to the butcher and it became a nevela. So chayev of Neshu Knesset Sachar. So he's chayev because it's as if he's a paid watchman. Now, what it sounds like he's chayev, even if he's not paid, because it's as if he's paid. So the Gemara, that would be a question over here, because you said he's only chayev if he's paid. It says not because it's as if he's like, it's because he is a nice sacher. It's as if it's not as if, because he is being paid. That's the not kinais sacher, mepneshu nice sacher, because he's a paid watchman, which means that he's going to be obligated to make sure that he's more careful. Not only negligence, but even more than negligence, he's still chayav. Ahu magrumta tasalakami derav. There was a case of magrumta, which is when the shchita slipped to the side, the knife slipped to the side, and instead of cutting where it's supposed to cut, it slipped and it went along by the very edge of the limits of where the shchita is allowed to take place. Now, that case happens to be a machlekes. But also Lakami the Rav, they brought it to Rav. Tarfei, Rav said that it's treif. Upatri l'tabach l'shlumi demei, and he also exempted the butcher from paying. So the guy lost twice. He lost his animal, and he also lost the butcher paying for his animal. Pagabe Rav Kana and Ravasi. Rav Kana and Ravasi met Bahu Gavra, that fellow that came out unhappy from the court. Amrulay, they said, Avad Bach Rav Tarti. These are students of Rav. They said, Rav did two things to you. This is my Tarti. What do you mean two things? Ilema Tartali aggressive, I mean two negative things. First of all, he could have made it kosher. Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda, because there's a machlekes over there. Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Yehuda says that type of shchita is kosher. And B'tarfi Karabanan, and instead he said that it's treif like the Rabbanan. Binami Karabanan, and even if it would go like the Rabbanan that it's treif, which he did do, he should have made the butcher have to pay for it. So that's what Ravasi and Rav Kana are saying. The Gemara says, 1 second. Mishar Lememar Ki Agavna, are they allowed to talk like that? But Tanya, we have a brisa. When he leaves the court, one of the judges should not leave the court saying that I really would have made you innocent. I would have said that you're butter, you should have won the case. What should I do? The other two judges that were there went against me. You're not allowed to say that. You can't say any of those details. Make it that's like unanimous. This is what the court decided, and we don't give any background to any conflict that went on between the judges. You don't say that. This is what we decided. So it turns out what Rav Asi and Rav Kana and Rav Asi are telling this fellow is not correct. They're saying that that Rav really could have said something else, and it's not right. They're going and they're revealing secrets. Ella tarti lamal yusa. Rather, what they meant was there were two advantages that Rav did for you. First of all, safek yisura. First of all, he didn't feed you something that could have been a doubt of prohibition, because it's a machlekes. And second of all, umanach safek gazela, and he also protected you from a potential theft. If you would have taken the money, that wouldn't have been so clear. Now, why is that not so clear if you're supposed to take the money? If he pays him, then he would be chayiv to pay. Oh, I get it. Because it's a machlekes if he messed up. That's the same suffix. The same suffix if he messed up, because one opinion holds that it's still kosher. He told him don't eat it, and the other guy doesn't have to pay. Yeah. Dr. Stein, you want to say something? You wanted to say something? I'm sorry? Oh, okay.
No.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Did we finish up with the discussion about Rabbi Meir? We had these three.
Yeah.
Which of those was right?
The last case where it was the drug that fell, we said is niskal pesheya. That would be the concluding case. You see, Reb Meir holds that if someone stumbles while he's walking, even though he didn't stumble over anything, he's considered negligent. or because he didn't stumble over anything. He's considered negligence. He stumbled over his own feet. So therefore, the butcher needs to be careful not to mess up. In other words, you have to take extra precautions to not to be clumsy. Yeah.
So the first two were discarded, they weren't analogous.
Yeah, we're not, because you couldn't use those as a comparison, as a precedent. Yeah, Itzmar, we have a statement now, a statement of Amirayim. It says, oh, it's interesting, this Itzmar looks like a brisa. Hamara dina l'shulchani v'nim tzara. If someone shows a coin to a banker, and what he wants to do is, he's asking the banker, should I accept this coin as payment? Is this considered a good coin? It's like sort of like before someone buys a car, he takes it to the mechanic to see if it's good. So here, he's about to get paid a coin, a certain type of currency. He asks the banker, is this a good currency? What is this a picture of?
Oh, that's wax coated stylus, tablet with stylus.
No, wait, how did this come in? Oh, that's coming up later. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the banker says that that this is fine. The coin is good. Turns out that it wasn't good. So Tani Chada Uman Pater Hedit Chayev. One brisa says that it depends. If he was an expert, he's exempt. If he's an amateur, then he's chayev. Tani Yidach, the other brisa says Beinuman ben Hedit Chayev. It says that it doesn't matter. He's always chayev, even if he's an expert. Amar of Papa says, Kitanya Uman Pater. When did the brisa say that if he's an expert, he's exempt? Danku Isser. These are the best bankers, the biggest experts. The late Migmar Klal. They have nothing more to learn. They're the professors, you know. That's the case. My toe, Elba my toe. So how they make a mistake? Says toe b'sichsa charata that he shaita the nafik mituse sichsa. No, that's what they're quoting of it. No, they're saying that right now something something happened to these coins, and they didn't find out about it. So they said, well, maybe they should have asked or something. They have no one to ask. They're the highest authority and everything. They have no one to ask. They found out later it wasn't good. Okay. Ahi itza the achsi dinra the There was a woman that showed her coin to Reb Chia. Amrullah, he said, Ma'al Yehu, it's a good coin. You can go and accept it. The following day, the woman came in and said to Reb Chia, Achsise, I went to show it to someone else. He told me it's no good, and he wouldn't accept it. Reb Chia tells Rav, Zil Chalfe Nale, go give her a new coin. Because of a pinkasi, and you write on my ledger, that's what they put over there. Dain Asik Bish, this was a bad business deal. In other words, he wanted to remind himself, I guess, never to do that again, never to give anyone advice about coins. Maishna Dankavissa the Patri. What's why Danki and Issa? These are two fellows. Why are they exempt? Because they have no one else to learn from. Reb Chia Nami loved Migmar, but he also doesn't need to learn. He was already he was good at this. Reb Chia said Reb Chia was going above the law, beyond.
Does it have to do with that she's a woman?
Not necessarily. It doesn't say that.
It says
Yeah.
woman is a detail. Maybe it's
Is that how it is?
we looked at before. There's different people. It's like lose-lose situation.
Oh, you're saying because it's a woman, so it's lose-lose. No, I don't think so. This would just have to do it. That was if a woman caused damage, not if.
So this must mean that Rab Chia was a mumcha in money.
Yeah.
Because if he was not, he would have to pay without question.
Then, right? It wouldn't be lefnimishers. Then it would be minad.
I'm reading presently a history book, and it talks about the difficulties caused by coinage in these times. You know, every king would mint a new coin anytime something happened. It came into use and they went out of use, and it was really very difficult.
And the value of the silver didn't take over.
It seems not. That's what surprised me. I would have thought that every coin was based on the value of the metal in it. But it seems like that wasn't so simple.
The U.S. has considered to stop making coins because to make them, it's more money than what they're actually worth.
No, but back then, when the coin really had the value of the metal value, so what would it mean if the new king came in and now the old coins aren't good? But who cares? It still has the same weight of silver. For some reason, it doesn't matter.
You don't see silver certificates.
No.
Yes. You don't even see silver coins.
Right.
That's why they smoke.
You see cryptocurrency. That's the new currency. Non-currency currency. Non-fungible.
They had that the nephew of his own.
Interesting. Okay. Says Kiditani Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef says, do they have other sources for that, or they just have this this source by us? And the comment over there, Rashi. Okay, yeah, I have it over here. Okay, Kiditani Rabbi Yosef, as Rabbi Yosef taught by Datalem, you should make known to them. This is referring to Torah study. That's the way Rashi learns this. Asaderach, the way you should make known to them the way. Sugmil chasadim. This is to do acts of kindness. Yelchu, that they should go. Zubikar chaylim. This is to visit the sick. Ba, that they should go on it. The zukfura. This is to bury the dead. Asamaisa, and the action. Zeadin. This is referring to judgment. Ashayasin, that they should do. So the Fnimashur Sadin, it means that you have to go above the law as well. You can't only just keep the exact law. You have to go above the law. And that's what Rabbi Chia was doing. He was like Rabbi Yosef says, that you're supposed to go above the law. Rish Lakish achveli dina l'Rabbi Lazar. Rish Lakish showed a coin to Rabbi Lazar. Rabbi Lazar is a contemporary. This is Rabbi Lazar ben Padas. Amar, Rabbi Lazar said, Malyo, it's a good coin. Amar lei, Rish Lakish says, Chazid alach samchina. See, because I'm relying on you. Amar lei, so Rabbi Lazar says, what do you mean if they're relying on me? What is that to say? You think that if it's going to come out bad, I'm going to have to pay you? You said that Reb Meir is the one that says that the causative damages is chayev. Now, when you said that that's the opinion of Reb Meir, probably you meant my love, Reb Meir of Sri Lanka, say that it's only the opinion of Reb Meir, and we don't hold like him. Which means that if this would cause you a loss, it's not going to be my fault. It's because I'm just causing the loss. I didn't damage your coin. I just said that it looks good. And now you accepted it. I didn't actually do a damage. I just caused the damage. So the Gemara says, hi, Reb Meir. No, as he says, like, Rabbi Rish Lakish responds, Reb Meir is Sri Lanka, say it is Reb Meir, but we paskin like that. We hold that this type of causing damage is more direct than other types of causing damage. Hi, Reb Meir. Which Reb Meir was Reb Elazar referring to? The Tanan, it was taught in the Mishnah. Dona Sadin. If a judge judges a case, Zika Sachayev Chiyev Esazakai. He vindicated the guilty, and he made guilty the innocent. Timya Satar Tira Satami. Or he made impure the pure, and he made pure the impure. Whatever he did, yes, the judge is going to be chayiv to pay. So you see, the judge is what caused the damage, and now the judge has to pay for it. Umar says no. Hitmar Rabbi Lai Amar Rav. Rabbi Lai said in the name of Rav, who should not live in asim biyad. That's only if the judge took items from the person himself and handed it to the other person. He went into his house and he took something. The judge was the one that was carrying out the judgment, and that's why he's going to have to pay, not just because he made a verdict. Elahar Reb Meir must be a different Reb Meir. If someone dyes it red and it's supposed to dye it red, and instead he dyes it black, or he was told to dye it black, instead he dyes it red. Reb Meir says you have to pay for the wool, and which means he has to pay him for the wool, which means he's responsible for the mistake that he made. Should mean also that over here he would be responsible for the mistake. It says no, Hasam covered be a dime over there. He's responsible because he's the one that put it in. He's the one that did it. It wasn't a mistake. He intentionally did it, not intentionally messed up, but he knew what he was doing when he did it. Elahar Rabbeir. It must mean a different Rabbeir. The Tanan. So in the Mishnah, someone takes his grapevine and leans it over his friend's grain. So that's a problem of kalayim. It's a forbidden mixture. So hariza kiddush v'chayev, he has to pay for the damages that he caused to the grain. The grain becomes prohibited to eat. So the Gemara says, "Hasam nami covered be'adayim." 1 second, he did that. He knew what he was doing. That doesn't mean that's Reb Meir, that he would be chayev even in a case where someone makes a mistake. Elahar Reb Meir must be the following Reb Meir. The Tanya was done in a brayso. Mechitza kem shenifritza. If the wall in the vineyard collapsed, so I'm a Gadar, they tell me I have to build it back up. Nifritza, if it broke again, I'm a Gadar, they tell me I have to build it back up. Nesiyayish miman of Gadra, he gave up and he didn't build it back up. So, and during that time, it grew 1 of 200 that would be acceptable. It grew too much. So, hareza kiddush v'chay b'achar yusay, then it becomes prohibited, and the person that was supposed to build the wall, which is the one with the vineyard, he has to pay for the grain, for the damages that he caused. Okay, let's take a look at the next Mishnah. Someone gives wool to a dyer, but the pot, he cooked it too much. He messed it up. He ruined the wool. The dyer ruined the wool. So nicely the made samra, he has to pay him for his wool. Regular damage, he has to pay for it. Tzavai kar. If he dyed it very ugly, we'll see what that means. The Gemara is going to tell us that means he used the residual dye that was left in the pot from another time. He didn't use fresh dye. So imashvach yasser yitzia. If the improvement right now to this wool is more than the expense of the dye, then then the owner of the wool just pays the lower cost, which was the expense, not the improvement. He just pays the lower cost. In other words, he's the winner over here, and then he's going to take his wool. He pays the lower cost. Meanwhile, he gained the improvement. If the cost was more than the improvements, then then he only has to pay for the improvements. The owner of the wool pays the dyer. This is the case we kept seeing, that if he was told to dye it red and instead he dyes it black and dyes it red, Reb Meir says that he has to pay him for all the wool. Right? And Rabbi Yehuda says, he says no, he has to pay him the lower price. It's the opposite person paying over here. Over there, Reb Meir holds that the dyer has to pay the owner for all the wool. Over here, it's the owner of the wool has to pay the dyer for whatever the lower price is. If the improvement is more than the cost, then then he only gives him the cost. But if the cost is higher than the improvements, then he has to pay him just the improvements, which is the lower price. My car, what did he mean when he said that he made it ugly? Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rabba Bar Barchana, kalbas. It's referring to kalbas. Okay, everyone knows what kalbas is, so we don't have to explain it. The Gemara says, "My kalbus." What is kalbus? Yeah, Amar Rabba Bar Shmuel. Rabba Bar Shmuel says, "Kafra dudi." This is referring to the residue that's along the sides of the pot that he used that to dye this wool. Okay, let's leave it over here. Jonathan, you ready for tomorrow? You see where we stopped? You're 101. Dr. Stein, you want to do 102?
You know what? You guys are all gonna be in Arizona.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me to give a class.
Thank you guys. Shkoyach. Have a good day.
3:30.
Okay.
Yeah.